We spend a lot of time thinking about the big splashy changes in the world, especially with technology.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the most profound shifts, they're happening in places we think we already understand pretty well, like education, for instance.
Exactly. That's where we're diving in today.
Yeah, and if you're listening and wondering how you can really get your head around the big changes happening in education or, what the future might actually look like for learners,
Then this is definitely a conversation you'll want to stick around for.
because here's the thought, maybe a bit radical. Could the whole idea of grade levels, K through 12, that progression, could that actually disappear? Maybe even in the next 10 years.
It sounds a bit like science fiction, doesn't it? But some of the research we've looked at suggests personalized learning technologies are making this a very real possibility.
So what kind of tech are we talking about here?
Well, it's this powerful mix, really. You've got AI tutors offering incredibly specific, like real-time feedback. Then there's virtual reality, VR, which can make abstract stuff feel, I don't know, almost like you're experiencing it firsthand.
Wow. Yeah.
And behind it all, sophisticated data analysis that lets us tailor learning pathways to each individual student. It's quite the combination.
Okay, so our mission today is to really unpack what's fueling this potential transformation. What are the limits of the traditional classroom model that are pushing us towards something new?
And maybe more importantly, what could this shift towards personalized learning actually mean for you, for everyone involved?
Right. It feels like recognizing the constraints of a system built for, well, a different time.
Precisely, and seeing how technology might offer a more effective path forward.
Okay, so let's start there. Think back to your own time in school. You probably had moments where you were totally hooked, right? Where it just clicked.
Oh, absolutely. Those moments you really remember.
But let's be honest, there are probably also times you felt like you were just, I don't know, going through the motions. The subjects felt irrelevant, or maybe you're just plain bored.
Huh, definitely. It's almost always a mixed bag, isn't it? That seems pretty universal.
Yeah. And a big part of that, our sources suggest, comes down to this one-size-fits-all model.
Picture it. A classroom, maybe 30 kids, each one with different interests, learning speeds, ways of understanding things, just totally different needs.
Right. But the standard approach is often everyone gets the same lecture, same book, same pace, same tests, all marching along to the calendar.
And you have to ask, how well does that really work? Some kids get it fast, they're ready to move on, itching for more.
Yeah, bored stiff, probably.
Exactly. While others need more time, maybe a different explanation, more examples to really get it.
So they fall behind.
Or they feel like they're falling behind, maybe they're struggling silently, feeling pressured to keep up with a pace that just doesn't suit them.
It really does sound like a system, as you said, built for another era, the industrial age, maybe, focused on standardization, producing a uniform output.
That's the connection many make. And that focus on standardization, well, it clashes pretty hard with what the modern workplace needs.
Ah, okay. So it's not just about the classroom experience itself, it's about preparation for what comes next.
Right. Employers today, they're not just looking for people who can memorize facts. That's not the top priority.
No, you hear about skills like critical thinking, right? Analyzing information, making judgment.
Exactly. Adaptability is huge, too. Complex problem solving, where the answer isn't obvious.
Collaboration, communication. Those always come up.
Definitely. And you see reports like from the World Economic Forum constantly pointing out this gap, a disconnect between the skills graduates often have and the skills employers are actually looking for.
It's like there's a mismatch.
Yeah.
Our sources even called it a conveyor belt approach, churning out a product that doesn't always fit the market need.
And this mismatch really comes into focus if you think about a hypothetical student. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah's bright, works hard, does really well in the traditional school setup, great at memorizing, aces standardized tests.
Sounds like a model student, on paper at least.
Right. But then put Sarah in a real-world scenario, maybe optimizing a workflow, troubleshooting some tech glitch, or even collaborating on a community project.
And the skills that got her A's might not be the ones she needs there.
That's often the challenge. She might struggle with the ambiguity, the need to experiment, try things, maybe fail and try again, or working with others who think differently.
Because test-taking skills don't always translate to that kind of flexible, creative problem solving.
Exactly. Knowing the formula is one thing. Knowing how and when to apply it in a messy, unpredictable situation, That's different.
That's a really crucial distinction.
And this leads straight into concerns from experts. Organizations like the OECD, they're pushing for this fundamental shift in education.
Moving away from just transmitting information.
Yes, moving towards actively developing competencies. It's less about what you know and more about what you can do with that knowledge.
Practical application. Making it real.
That's the key. And the skills getting emphasis reflect this. Things like robust digital literacy, not just using tech, but understanding it, creating with it.
Complex problem solving, definitely. Creativity, thinking outside the box.
Strong collaboration skills, absolutely essential now. These aren't just nice to haves anymore.
They're becoming prerequisites, really, especially with automation and how complex the world is getting.
Exactly. Essential for navigating the future.
So it all comes back to this core question. How can a system based on uniformity prepare students for a future defined by change? For jobs that might not even exist yet?
It highlights this basic conflict, doesn't it? The traditional structure versus the need for agility, innovation, critical thinking. The old model often prioritizes conformity, memorization.
Over those future-proof skills.
Right. And the result, our sources talk about a critical deficit. Graduates who lack sufficient grounding in complex problem solving, applied creativity, real adaptability.
Which could put them at a disadvantage.
A significant disadvantage as the job market keeps changing so fast. And this brings us to the day-to-day impact, on the students, on the teachers, living within this system.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The daily grind. Picture a teacher, 30 kids again, all with different learning speeds, styles, backgrounds. Maybe some have learning disabilities or English isn't their first language.
Just immense diversity in one room, and the teacher's often stuck delivering this curriculum designed for the average student.
Knowing it won't fit many of them perfectly.
Exactly. And you see the results. Quick learners get bored, they tune out, maybe even act out because they're not challenged.
While others, the ones needing more time.
They start falling behind. Confusion sets in, anxiety about learning. Maybe they're afraid to ask questions.
And the teacher is stuck in the middle, juggling all these needs, trying to deliver the content, keep track of progress. It sounds exhausting.
It is. And the emotional toll is huge for everyone. Students feeling overlooked or unchallenged, that breeds frustration. Bright kids can start to hate school.
Which is such a waste. That natural curiosity gets stamped out.
And for students who are struggling, constantly feeling behind, that hits their self-esteem hard, leads to anxiety, disengagement.
Which, as you mentioned, can be a risk factor for dropping out later.
Absolutely. If learning feels like constant failure or just pointless busy work, why stick with it?
And what about the teachers? The pressure on them must be immense.
Oh, incredible. Many start out passionate, wanting to make a difference, like that spark, but the system's limits can make them feel ineffective, overwhelmed.
They see students struggling, see potential being wasted, but feel they lack the time or resources for that individual support.
Right. They might spend hours prepping a lesson, then feel like they only reached a few kids. It leads to burnout, high stress levels. Teacher attrition is a massive problem.
There was that example in the sources, Mrs. Davison teaching quadratic equations.
Yes, a perfect illustration. You've got Anya, who got it ages ago. Now she's bored, maybe reading a novel under the desk.
While Ben in the back is completely lost. Maybe he never fully grasped linear equations first, and others are just somewhere else entirely.
And Mrs. Davison probably knows Ben needs foundational help, maybe visual aids. And she knows Anya needs a challenge, maybe real-world applications.
But with a whole class to manage and the clock ticking.
Giving that individual attention feels impossible. So she assigns generic homework, knowing it doesn't really fit Anya or Ben.
That inflexibility, it's baked into the standardized model, isn't it? It prevents that real differentiation.
Absolutely. Which leads to this idea of teaching to the middle.
Trying to hit the average, reach the most students possible within the constraints.
Right. It seems practical, maybe, but it disadvantages kids at both ends. The Anyas, the advanced learners, they're unchallenged, potential stunted. They learn compliance, not deep engagement.
And the Bens, needing more support. They get left further behind, feel inadequate. Those knowledge gaps just widen.
So in trying to serve everyone, it often serves no one optimally. And then you layer on the administrative burden.
Oh yeah, the grading, the paperwork, the meetings, the data entry. It seems endless sometimes.
And every hour spent on that is an hour not spent giving feedback, planning engaging activities, researching new methods, or just connecting with students individually.
So you add it all up. Disengaged kids, burned out teachers, teaching to the middle, admin overload. It's this high-pressure cooker.
Yeah, hindering learning, wasting potential, bright kids lose their love of learning, struggling kids don't get help, passionate teachers leave. It's a huge loss.
It really does sound unsustainable. Which brings us back to that question. Could technology offer a way out? A solution?
Well, that's the glimmer of hope, isn't it? The idea of flipping the script. Instead of forcing students into a rigid system.
What if this system could adapt to them?
Exactly.
Okay.
Imagine a learning environment that gets how you learn best, knows what sparks your curiosity, lets you move at your speed.
Like a personalized journey, not just ticking boxes.
That's the essence of personalized learning. Tailoring education, the pace, the content, the style to the individual student's needs, interests, abilities.
So customizing content to connect with passions, varying the approach visual, hands-on, whatever works best for that student.
Precisely. The goal is an optimized pathway for each learner, maximizing their understanding and potential.
Now, you mentioned practical hurdles earlier, access, cost, privacy assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Those are real challenges.
Absolutely. Huge considerations. But let's, for a moment, just focus on the potential, the promise of this approach.
Okay, and a big part of that seems to be shifting students from being passive recipients.
To active participants, giving them more agency.
How does that work?
Well, flexible pathways mean students get more say in what they learn, how they learn it, even when. They can dive deeper into interests, spend extra time on tricky spots.
Which sounds like it would boost motivation, right? Feeling like you have some control.
Definitely. It fosters ownership, deeper engagement. It's moving from just consuming knowledge to actively constructing your own understanding.
And that changes the teacher's role too, doesn't it?
Fundamentally, less sage on the stage, more guide on the side.
Facilitator, mentor, guide, focusing on individual support, encouragement, feedback.
Exactly. Moving away from lecturing the whole class to more meaningful individual or small group interactions.
Now, the idea of personalized teaching isn't brand new, but
But technology is what makes it scalable. Trying to do this for kids with just paper and pencil, incredibly difficult.
technology is the amplifier, the enabler.
Precisely. And we're seeing powerful tools emerge, adaptive learning platforms.
What do those do exactly?
They present material, assess understanding in real time, and automatically adjust the difficulty or content based on how the student is doing.
Okay. And AI tutors.
They can offer instant feedback, answer questions, provide targeted practice right when it's needed.
But crucially, these tools support teachers. They don't replace them. That seems key.
Absolutely critical. And the potential benefits. Huge. Increased engagement because the material is relevant and challenging enough.
A greater sense of competence from mastering things at your own pace.
More relevant learning, linked to goals, real-world contexts. It's not just less boring, it's potentially more effective and more equitable.
So what are the main tech pillars making this possible?
You can think of three core ones. Artificial intelligence, AI for that dynamic adaptation and feedback.
Okay.
Adaptive learning platforms, providing the structured environment for these customized experiences.
Right.
And sophisticated data analytics, tracking progress, providing insights to keep refining the journey.
Okay, so let's get down to specifics. How does this actually work day to day? Take an AI tutor. What does that look like for, say, Leo struggling with algebra?
Okay, Leo's working on factoring polynomials on an AI platform. He makes a mistake. The AI doesn't just say wrong.
It just does more.
Yeah, it might pinpoint the error and offer a targeted hint like, have you looked for common factors first?
A helpful nudge, not just a red X.
Exactly. And if he keeps struggling, maybe it breaks the problem down further or links to a quick video explaining the concept he's missing.
And it's learning about Leo as he works.
Constantly. Analyzing his responses, speed, error types, concepts grasped. Based on that, it adjusts.
So if he's doing well, it gets harder.
Yep, introduces more complex problems. If he's struggling, maybe more foundational practice or explaining it differently.
That instant feedback loop sounds powerful. Correcting misunderstandings right away.
It is. Prevents practicing mistakes, lets him learn at his pace, builds confidence, way better than waiting days for a grade.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, what about VR? You mentioned Maya learning about Rome.
Right. So instead of just reading, Maya puts on a VR headset. Suddenly, she's in the Roman Forum.
Wow. Walking around.
Yeah, walking around, examining buildings, maybe hearing simulated chatter, interacting with virtual objects to learn about them.
That's way more memorable than a picture in a book.
Absolutely. Or think about science. Maya uses augmented reality, AR, on a tablet over her textbook's diagram of the heart.
Yeah.
A 3D heart pops up on her screen, like it's right there. She can rotate it, zoom in, see the blood flow dynamically. Things a 2D drawing just can't show.
Making abstract concepts tangible explorable.
Exactly. Imagine virtual chemistry labs, safe experiments, or exploring complex machines in VR. It deepens understanding, especially for visual or hands-on learners.
And all this activity, it's generating data constantly.
Tons of it. Every click, every answer, time spent on tasks. It's all collected and processed.
Which leads to detailed reports.
Yep. Tracking individual progress, pinpointing strengths, weaknesses, even common misconceptions across the class.
So, for Leo's teacher, the data might show he's got factoring down, but struggles with the distributive property.
Precisely. Or for Maya's teacher, maybe lots of kids spend extra time at the virtual Senate House suggests a good discussion topic.
Veeam teaches a much clearer picture of where each student is.
Exactly. It helps them provide targeted support or enrichment. And often, students get dashboards too, showing their own progress, giving them ownership.
But again, circling back, these are tools for teachers, not replacements. The human element is still vital.
Absolutely essential. The human in the loop. An AI tutor is patient, sure, but it lacks empathy. It can't tell if a student's having a bad day.
Or offer that specific encouragement.
Right. And VR is immersive, but you need a teacher to guide reflection, connect it to learning goals. Data needs human judgment for pedagogical decisions.
A tech automates tasks, but relationships, trust, mentorship, classroom dynamics, ethics, that's all human.
Irreplaceable human elements.
And it seems these tools could be especially helpful for kids who find traditional classrooms tough.
That's a key benefit. Anxious student. AI Tutor offers non-judgmental practice. Kinesthetic learner. VRR gives hands-on experience. Need more time. Adaptive platforms allow self-pacing.
Offering alternative pathways, flexibility, potentially leveling the playing field.
Exactly, making education more accessible. And we're seeing evidence this works. Pilot programs are showing promise.
Like what?
Studies show measurable gains in test scores with AI tutors, especially math, sometimes approaching human tutor effectiveness.
Yep.
Adaptive platforms. Schools report higher engagement, assignment completion, mastery backed by analytics and teacher observations. VR labs seem to improve conceptual understanding in science.
And benefits for teachers too. Saving time.
Yes, AI can automate grading, finding resources, reports, even scheduling help, frees teachers up for more meaningful interaction. It echoes older research too, like Bloom's work showing personalized tutoring gives a huge performance lift over group teaching.
It all sounds incredibly promising. But, as we said, implementation is key. Access, training, equity.
Which brings us right to building tomorrow's classroom today. This isn't some far-off future dream, it's happening now.
But moving from pilots to widespread success needs deliberate planning, right? Rethinking environments.
Absolutely. It's not just buying tech. It's fundamental structural change. And the absolute first thing to tackle is equity and accessibility.
Because the risk is deepening the divide, isn't it? If only well-funded schools get these tools.
Precisely. We need to ensure all students, regardless of background, location, abilities, have access.
That means devices, reliable internet, assistive tech for disabilities, accessible software, multilingual resources.
The whole package. A conscious effort to bridge the digital divide and design for universal access. And just as critical is teacher training and ongoing professional development.
Not just how to use the software, but the whole pedagogy behind personalized learning.
Exactly. Training on facilitating inquiry, managing flexible pathways, interpreting data, integrating tools meaningfully. It's a shift in role.
From information deliverer to facilitator and mentor.
Yes. And that support needs to be continuous, collaborative, embedded in practice. Without that deep investment in teachers, the best tools will just gather dust.
Collaboration seems vital in developing the tech itself too, not just tech companies deciding what schools need.
Oh, absolutely. Tools designed in isolation rarely work well. You need educators, administrators, even students involved in design and refinement.
Teachers give invaluable feedback on usability, alignment with curriculum.
Students offer insights on engagement, clarity, and this collaboration has to include ethics, tackling AI bias, ensuring data privacy, responsible use. Partnership is key.
And with AI becoming so common, students need to understand it too, right? Not just use it.
Definitely. AI literacy is crucial. Understanding algorithms, data training, potential bias, ethical issues, critical thinking to evaluate AI output and use it responsibly, that's vital for their future.
Are there bigger frameworks guiding this? You hear terms like Education 4.0.
Yes, frameworks like Education 4.0 aim to align education with the fourth industrial revolution. They emphasize future skills, personalized learning, project-based work, inclusion, equity. They're like conceptual maps for moving beyond traditional models thoughtfully.
And government has a role. Policy, funding.
A huge role. Funding innovation, setting standards for privacy or interoperability, supporting research, creating incentives for schools to explore these approaches. Policy creates the enabling environment for change to take root.
But it's not just policymakers and educators. Listeners, you have a role too.
Absolutely. Parents can ask questions, advocate for resources, community members can support funding, join discussions. Lifelong learners can explore these platforms themselves. Widespread change needs broad public understanding and support.
So what specific actions can people take?
Get informed about your local district, attend board meetings, join PTAs, ask informed questions about personalized learning, support policies at state or national levels that fund ed tech and teacher training.
Explore resources yourself or for your kids.
Yes, there are so many apps and platforms now. Try them out and just talk about it. Engage in conversations in your community about the challenges and opportunities in education today.
Because that collective effort, that shared commitment to rethinking learning, that's what will drive this forward.
Precisely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's pretty clear the traditional classroom is evolving, maybe even fading in its current form. Personalized learning, supercharged by tech, offers this really compelling vision.
Yeah, a future where education is potentially more engaging, more effective, definitely more equitable, allowing more learners to truly reach their unique potential.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How could personalized education impact your own growth or learning in your community?
It's a powerful question to consider. What role will you play in shaping this?
So start those conversations. Maybe try out an app. Ask questions at your local school. Be part of building what comes next.
Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration. Keep digging, keep learning.
Absolutely. Until our next deep dive, keep those minds working. Bye for now.